Satnam. Hi Astro friends and family. My name is Karine. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher and also astrologer, and I work on Lada's channel. And today we are going to talk about career and money for 12 signs in 2023. And remember, this is a general reading, so everyone has a different chart. So if you want a specific one for yourself, you can check the link below and you can find the information how to book reading with me. So before we start, just a quick introduction how I read the chart and also how you can use this reading. So I use tropical zodiac and the whole sign house system, and I apply Vedic astrology techniques in all my readings. So please don't use any unequal house system for this reading. Traditionally, people use sidereal zodiac and in Vedic astrology. But Ernst Wilhelm, the teacher that I learned from, if you're interested in astrology, you must have heard of this person. And he stopped using sidereal zodiac for Vedic astrology. I think it's in 2005, because he tests tropical and sidereal for all the Vedic techniques. And tropical trumps every time. So that's why he stopped using sidereal for Vedic astrology, I think at least 10 years ago. So this is where and how I learned from him, and this is also how I'm going to do my readings. And usually I use planetary dristis, like each planet, they have a specific eyesight, and when they shoot the eyesight to different places, that also sends the influence to the houses. But because the topic today is about career and money, so I will only mention the aspect, the dristi that is related to this topic. So not every aspect will be mentioned. So Jupiter will be in Aries from 21st of December and will stay in this sign until 16th of May in 2023. So that means right now, Jupiter is very soon to entering into Aries and will stay there for at least 5 months. And then Jupiter will enter Taurus from 17th of May, and then we will stay there for a year. So until 25th of May 2024. And Saturn will enter in Pisces on 7th of March and will stay there until 13th of February 2026. So almost 3 years time. But in between, Saturn will enter into Aries for a brief time and then will go back to Pisces. So approximately 3 years time. And so this reading is good if you look at from your rising sign as well as your moon sign. In Vedic astrology, apart from the birth chart, they also have this moon chart. So it means that we read everything from the moon's perspective, moon's placements. So your moon signs become your ascendant, your first house. And so you can look at the transits from the moon, and it's called Gochara in Vedic astrology. That's the specific term for that. And you can also, if you like, you can also turn your charts, like your birth chart, and read from your moon placements. Particularly if you're over 50 years old, it's good to look at from your moon chart, because all the planets will be mature during that time. For example, Rahu matures at the age of 42 and Ketu matures at the age of 48. So all the planets and the 2 points, they will be mature. And if you read from your moon, you will also feel more consciously and emotionally connected to the prediction, because moon rules our consciousness and emotions. And this reading, it's not so much about looking at from your sun sign, but if you like listen from your sun sign, you can do that as well. Now, there are several rising signs for next year. They are quite important. They are having a big year next year in 2023. So like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Pisces, and Leo. They all have planets go through their first house, particularly Aries and Taurus. These two signs, they have planets go through their 12th house as well as their first house. So they're having the beginning and also the ending happening at the same time. So this is like big year. Why first house is very important is because when planets transit in the first house, it's the most important transit in life. The first house rules you, your path in life, your identity, who you are. The planets that are transiting through the first house are going to have a profound impact on your growth. And the planets that move through the first house is going to make you who you are, make you become who you're meant to be, and also lay out the path for you. And because the ascendant is always about learning to becoming the best version of you along the path. So when planets move through the first house, each planet will do what it needs to do to help you to become better in your life. For example, different planets, they have different mission. Particularly when planets move through your first house and go retrograde, becomes extremely important. That's why Jupiter and Saturn, when they transit your first house, is always important, because these two planets, they always they go retrograde when they transit in one sign. Venus, Mercury, and Mars, they are fast-moving planets, but when they transit your first house and go retrograde, they become extremely important. Scorpio rising, Scorpio moon. Saturn will transit your fifth house from March next year, and it will stay there until February 2026, so almost 3 years' time. And Jupiter will move through your sixth house from December this year, like 21st of December, and will stay there until 16th of May 2023, so 5 months' time. And then Jupiter will move through your seventh house and then will stay there for another year. So start with Saturn. So Saturn transit in the fifth house. Fifth house rules our creative self-expression, how you want to express yourself, uniqueness, and it rules our creativity, intelligence, children, romance, and social life. It rules speculative business, gaming, entertainment, show business, politics, performance arts like center stage role. In Vedic astrology, it rules education, studying the ancient texts, or mantra chanting. And fifth house is an enemy's house of Saturn, because in Vedic astrology, Saturn and Sun, they are enemies to each other. So when Saturn transits through an enemy's house, it can produce like frustrating delays in the topics that are related to fifth house, which I mentioned just now. And it limits your expression of your personal intelligence, your creative intelligence, especially if you work in the area of performance arts, creativity, arts, entertainment, fashion, show business, and so on. You can experience some frustrating delays and setbacks during the transit. But having said that, if Saturn is well supported during the transits, the experience is less about setbacks, failure, or frustration. It will be more about you're taking on more responsibilities and duties and heavy workload in those areas. And then Saturn moves through Pisces, will take like 3 years' time. So there will definitely be times where other planets making like supportive, gentle aspects towards Saturn, for example, Venus and Mercury. So it's not going to be like doom and gloom throughout the whole time when Saturn transits your fifth house. Now, creativity-wise, you can experience some blocks during this transit. The way you approach creativity or art might become more systematic or less spontaneous. But creativity is not just about you working in the creative field. It's more about your creative expression, because we are here to create. So like creating solutions, creating ideas, writing, it all takes our creativity. So your creativity might be blocked. How you approach things might become more systematic. How you express yourself might become more like less spontaneous. But if you do work in a creative field or artistic field, for example, if you're a writer, even though when you don't have inspiration to write, still try to write a little bit every day. Keep up the routine, keep up producing and creating. It's very important, because even though when Saturn blocks your spontaneous creative flow, but it can also bring more structure and discipline and order. So after this transit, you will definitely come out more organized and disciplined with your process of creation, which can be very productive and useful. Especially a lot of artists, they are not very organized. So during this transit, this is the time for you to learn to be more organized and disciplined with your creation. Overall, you'll feel like less confidence during this transit, because this is the house of self-expression, how you express yourself. So you might feel like you can't express yourself freely. And fifth house is also the house of fun and pleasure. Your approach to life might become more careful, systematic, and serious. less social life, and it could be like heavy workload, but Saturn does reduce the fun in life when it transits in the 5th house. 5th house also rules hobbies and interests. So you might find yourself losing some kind of interest or hobbies, or feeling disconnected to the things that used to bring you joy. But Saturn rules work. So it could also be that you make one of your hobbies, one of your interests become your work. For example, you like to make your own clothes for fun. But when Saturn transits the 5th house, you turn it into a proper work. Or maybe people just demanding you to make this, and that. And that's why you feel. And also, like I said, Saturn transit in the 5th house, you can also provide more work responsibilities in that area. So if you're doing this for fun, you might turn it into your proper work. Now, Jupiter will transit your 6th house from December now until mid-May in 2023, so 5 months time. 6th house rules work. When Jupiter moves through 6th house, you might start doing something expensive, doing something big with your work, which is good. But at the same time, it can also create more workload, responsibilities, and potentially high level of stress, high level of competition, because 6th house rules competition and also health condition. And if you're looking for a new job, Jupiter transit in the 6th house will help you to find a job that you feel more comfortable in, that you feel more suitable with. And 6th house is Mercury's house. So it's a house of details, analysis, and there might be increased situations that require attention to detail, like making sure everything is running smoothly and lots of organizing and planning. 6th house also rules more like difficult things like disagreements, arguments, conflicts, accusation, imbalanced situations, competition. And Jupiter gives many in the house when it's in. So you can expect quite a lot going on, different factors coming up suddenly and need resolving. So you might feel like there's endless problems to solve, endless conflicts, and you might even get sick because the level of stress. But the good news is because Jupiter is strong in Pisces, and you might suddenly get rid of all the trouble that you're encountering right now. But the things that trouble you will still keep you on your toes. You simply just won't have a moment to relax during this transit. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to your health. And the level of stress can also make you vulnerable to illness. And watch out your stress level and also your eating, because Jupiter is transiting the house of gut, like digestive system. And Jupiter transit in the 6th house is also looking at the 2nd house. So it rules foods that we put into our mouth. So Jupiter sometimes can be too allowing, permissive, even with some bad habits. So watch out overeating, comfort eating, stress eating, or pay attention to your eating habits, or other habits can cause trouble for your health. Really pay attention to that. Like I said, Jupiter transit in the 6th house, it's also looking at 2nd house as well as 10th house. So Jupiter is sending the influence to the 2nd and the 10th. 2nd house is to do with the resources, money, investments, accumulated wealth. So Jupiter can bring some blessings and luck in those areas. And they might be, for example, you will have enough food in your pantry and more resources that are available for you when you need it. You feel more prosperous because you can access to different resources, more financial support to help you on the journey. And Jupiter looking at the 10th house, Jupiter is also sending the influence to the 10th house. 10th house rules career, your reputation, leadership position, and responsibilities. So there might be more responsibilities in your professional path. And at the same time, there will be also more opportunities for positive career development and visibility, or maybe opportunities for a new job as well. Then afterwards, Jupiter will transit into your 7th house from mid-May 2023 until 2024. Jupiter will stay there for 1 year. And in Vedic astrology, each house has their significator house. For example, Jupiter Jupiter's key house is the seventh house, because this is the house of co-creating something with somebody. So it's a house of creating your dynasty, your legacy, something you want to create and leave behind. And usually that means babies, children. It can also mean that you embrace someone into your life, that you create baby together, or you create something that can be embraced by the public, that you're doing something, some work that's to do with the public. You become more visible to the public, especially people who has any work that's to do with the public. When they want to create something to leave behind or last for a long time, when Jupiter transit in the seventh house, this is a very critical time for that dynasty, for the legacy that they create to unfold and manifest. But it could be both. Like you can also have children, you can also create your dynasty, your business empire as well. So when Jupiter transit in the seventh house, the house of creating something that you can leave behind, that something can last forever, either you need a partner, like I said, to create a baby together, or you start to create something that can impact many people, impact the public. One of the manifestations is that you can expect pregnancy. But if having a baby is not your focus right now, you may have some like strong inspiration that you want to create and develop. For example, when I had Jupiter transit in my seventh house, this is when I started working with Astrolada. So Astrolada, she's a powerful and also high-profile astrologer on the internet. And this is when we started working together and create videos together. So that is something we can, last for a long time. And I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher, so I became more active creating Kundalini yoga videos online. So for Scorpio, Jupiter is going to stay here for 1 year. And this is a very important time for you to take actions towards the things that you want to create, the empire, the legacy that you want to leave behind. And Jupiter transit in the seventh house can also bring some benevolent partners into your life, expand your allies and also your clientele. So just like the example I gave you, Ashlada, she's very high profile on the internet, and then she has like big clientele, client base, and also the channel is very successful. So you can also meet someone like that and bring in more opportunities for you to expand. But Saturn transit in the fifth house is also looking at seventh house. So it also sends the influence to the seventh house. So it requires more effort and responsibilities for you, Scorpio, to uphold the partnership. And there might be some challenges to overcome as well, maybe some delays. And seventh house also rules some contracts, partnerships, working with other people, including other people into your life, bargaining, trading, deal making, matchmaking, forming alliances. So your negotiation skill will be improved during this transit, definitely. And your skill of making things happen, arrangements will be improved. And you may start putting yourself out there more, your visibility will increase. But because Saturn is also sending the influence to the seventh house, so you also need to pay attention to your image if you're putting yourself out there. Try not to make mistakes. And Jupiter usually gives many in the house that it's in, so your interaction with other people will increase. And Jupiter also brings more opportunities for you to work with other people, to collaborate. And it can also bring more allies and also increase your inclination to work with other people, which is a good thing, because if you're the type of person who always work on your own, and maybe this will bring you some new perspective when collaborating, working with other people, and you'll be more open to work with other people. But like I said, Saturn transit in the fifth house is also sending the influence to the seventh house. You can still experience some luck and blessings with the seventh house topics that I mentioned just now, but the power of Jupiter, the support of Jupiter will be reduced. And even though there might be like opportunities for meeting new people, building new relationships, Saturn transits in the fifth house, shooting the influence to the seventh house, will somehow bring some challenges and tests to those partnerships or collaborations. So not every partnership or opportunity will bear fruit. Only the solid ones will stay. Okay, so that was a brief review about your career and money in the upcoming year. I wish you a year of abundance, support, love, wisdom, and guidance. And if you need a personal reading, you can find the information in the link below. Thank you.